The 49ers are not getting in this.
No, they're
and
not.
Before you ever even have any conversation about any other team, the first step is Aaron Rodgers has to rescind his intention that he's playing for the Jets. Because I don't care that he doesn't have a no-trade clause. No one is trading for this guy if he doesn't want to go there. So as long as his intention is to play for the Jets, no one else need bother apply for a potential trade for Aaron Rodgers.
No.
And thank God, Ian Rappaport reported yesterday that the Jets and the Packers have re-engaged in trade talks so we can stop with the 49ers to trade for Aaron Rodgers nonsense. And I know 2 years ago it wasn't nonsense. That's what started the whole thing the day before the draft. 49ers made one last call, and it got out, and it kicked up the dust the whole day of the draft that Aaron Rodgers wants out. Here we are, he's still there. But it's the Jets that are going to, pun intended, land this plane probably Friday night, quite possibly when one of their 2 consecutive second-round picks, Chris, is on the clock. That's when this deal gets done.
Yeah, I would think so. I would. Yeah, the 49er talk is nonsense. Again, it's Jets or nothing. Teams are too far down the road with their salary cap, the direction of their football team. I mean, yeah, I'm sure maybe there's a team out there that maybe we could logically say could maybe do it. But no, it's Jets, like you talked about. And, yeah, what those final details are, and we've talked about it, we've heard about it, whether it's that, he plays second year and what is the compensation if he does play 2 years, either way. If I'm the Packers, though, and this trade's going to go down, I'm going to bring up a point we talked about 2 weeks ago, Mike. Why wouldn't you want those picks? Why wouldn't you want those picks on Thursday night, I know it's basically the same thing as a deadline, but I would still want to go, wait, I'd like to know on Thursday night in the first round, because we have pick number 16, that I have pick 42, 43, and 45 in case I want to move up. But what if Jalen Carter's on the board and they want to go get him or something at number 8 or 9, whatever. That's all I'm saying. That's just the one interesting part. But it's good to hear that, talks have reignited, and I expect it to happen like you, and I'm going to be interested to see what the compensation is.
And it's a great point. But
I know.
To get that deal done
Yeah.
Thursday night, you may have to give a little bit, because from the Jets' standpoint, they don't care. The window doesn't close on the trade being done during the 2023 draft until those picks consecutively, 42 and 43, are both used.
Right.
So that's when. And that's the key in any negotiation. The two sides have to have a mutual understanding as to when chariot becomes pumpkin. Chariot becomes pumpkin when pick 43 is turned in. That's when it's over. And they have to go back and reconfigure. They have to set a new deadline because 2023 draft picks are no longer in play. Unless they would then make it a third-round pick, which only increases what the Jets would have to give up in 2024. The one thing they agree on, second-round pick for 2023. The thing they're fighting about is what do the Packers get in 2024. And the back end of that, potentially, what goes back to the Jets in 25 if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play in 24. And I suggested this over the weekend, and there's a certain simplicity in it that probably means it won't be used. The Packers are so intent on being able to puff out their chest and say they got a first-round pick in 2024. And the discussion has been along the lines of, well, it'll be a lower pick, and it goes up depending upon factors. And that's exactly what the Brett Favre trade was between, wait for it, the Packers and the Jets 15 years ago. Now, the trade happened after the 2008 draft, so it's not like there could be 08 picks in there, but it was a formula. It was a 4, they become a 3, could become a 2, could become a 1, and it stuck at 3 because they didn't make the playoffs. So it went from 4 to 3. They could do a schedule like that, a formula like that for next year. And the Packers ultimately wanted to max out at a 1. How about this? If the Packers are so intent on being able to tell the world they got a first-round pick, why don't they make it a first-round pick that goes down? It's a first-round pick unless the Jets fail to win a postseason game. Then it becomes a second-round pick. Unless Aaron Rodgers fails to play in at least 14 and a half games. Then it becomes a third-round pick. I mean, there's a way to give them a first-round pick for now and then have it drop. Oh, or if he retires before April 1 of 2024, then it drops. I mean, there are ways you can create the formula that starts at a 1 and then goes down, so at least the Packers can say to the world, we got a first-round pick, and by next year it may not be a first-round pick, but we get to say for now we got a first-round pick. And if that's what they're trying to do to save some face or just feel better about themselves or stick it to Aaron Rodgers or whatever, that's a way to get to the same place where the Jets have protection and that pick can go down.
I hear you there. I don't think that's a crazy thought. You've said it before. I can get behind that. So we're talking about you trade the 2 twos to get him for this year, and then for
1-2.
Not just both. 1-2? Okay, just one. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to just trade the 1-2 and then have the provisional, whatever you're saying, 4th round if we don't make a playoffs, 3rd round.
Make it a first rounder.
Right.
Make it a first rounder and drop it down.
Right. Is there value? I haven't really thought about this. And is there value in which way to do it, whether it's a 3rd rounder and then go up or a 1st rounder and go?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. You don't think it really matters? All right. I'm just trying to think if there's
it doesn't matter because you're still tying up. You're still tying up multiple picks.
Yeah.
That's the reason why teams don't like to do it, because if you have a formula that goes 4, maybe 3, maybe 2, maybe 1, you've tied up all 4 of those picks, and you can't trade them at that point. Well, you can, but what happens is if it's a 4, then a 3, then a 2, then a 1, and the Jets would trade the 4, then automatically the floor becomes a 3 if that
right.
4 is not there anymore. So it's either way, whether it goes up or whether it goes down, every pick that is part of that formula is basically off limits if the Jets want to do other trades. And I think that's one reason to push back against that if you're the Jets. But there's got to be conditions here. It would be foolish for the Jets to just hand over next year's first-round pick. And I think that would be the thing that causes the Jets to say, we're not doing it. And look, the clock strikes 12 on Friday night when those back-to-back Jets picks are on the clock. And all that the deadline means is that's when the two sides move to their bottom line. That's when we find out, or at least they find out among each other, where they're going to draw the line in the sand. And they both hope that, I use the Venn diagram example all the time. I don't even know if they teach that in school anymore, but I remember when I was in math class when I was a kid, the Venn diagram shows you different ways that the two circles interact. All those two circles have to do is kiss. What if they're apart when we get to proverbial midnight, threat level midnight? What if they're apart? Then it all moves forward, and then they got to figure it out at some other point. They got to come up with another deadline. After June 1, where the Packers get some cap relief if they trade him, start a training camp, week 1. I mean, this thing's happening before week 1. Barring a change of intention by Aaron Rodgers, it's happening before week 1. And to the extent that there's a formula in there that helps the Packers based on what the Jets do this year, the sooner they get him onto the Jets,
the better that is.
If that formula is driven by success, the better chance you have of getting more for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. No, that's where, again, I would think that the Green Bay would, if they want to go down that road, would have some urgency. Yeah. Again, if you're waiting till late August, I'm the Jets. It's almost like, well, gosh, forget it. I don't want to give you anything, or we're gonna take away a little. You've lessened our chances of being good here. The value has gone down. So there is a sweet spot or a time here that it needs to be done to uphold the value of what you were talking about. So I guess if it was just 1 year, you think just 1 second rounder is going to get that done? That's where I wasn't sure about the total compensation.
No.
I thought maybe they might need more. Yeah, you think it's going to be the second rounder and something else?
Yeah. The fight is what's the something else?
Yeah.
And then what's the protection for the Jets if it's just 1 year? Because there's been different reports that whole, before I went into the locked closet for 3 days, I was 90% retired. I still think that's myth-making by Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's already told you not to listen to the crap that I say, so let me give you some more crap that you can ponder. I think this whole idea that he was 90% leaning toward retirement was part of his not-so-subtle message to the Packers, F around and find out. Like if you hadn't changed your position that the light is on and the door is open and you're welcoming me back, and then all of a sudden I start to get a different vibe, that's when my 90% went to 0%, and I decided I'm going to play this year just to stick it to you. I don't believe he was 90% retired. I choose to just think that that's part of an effort by Aaron Rodgers to make the story seem more entertaining, more interesting, and more problematic for the Packers. But that freaked out Woody Johnson, supposedly, that he's 90% leaning toward retirement, so they want protection against him only playing 1 year. And look, whether he meant it or not, whether he said it or not, and he did say it, but whether he's truly acting on it, we know he's in the year-to-year phase of his life. And if he goes to New York this year and it doesn't work out, well, he will retire. There's got to be something that happens this year that is good enough that makes him want to do it again.
Right.
And a lot of that's up to the Jets, but they want to be protected against whatever they give up to the Packers, against the possibility that it all is something that doesn't go well, and Aaron Rodgers decides after taking ayahuasca or going back into a dark closet next year that he is going to retire.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I do. I think that's, more delicate, actually, that side of the story than the the Packers wanting protection or anything like that. The Jets, if they get Aaron Rodgers for the 2024 season and, it's all good and everything else, and they went to the playoffs last year, in 2023, whatever, they'll be happy to give away, another high roundish type of pick for Aaron Rodgers. It means it was a success story. They're in a spot where, okay, so be it. So, but yeah, it's the other side of that story that's, dicey too. The Jets they're taking a gamble on a guy that could play 1 year, and they're going to pay him a ton of money, and they're right back in the boat of, wait, our quarterback situation's dicey with Zach Wilson and whoever else might be on our football team, so I get it. Hopefully it all comes to a head this Thursday or Friday night.
There's a lot of people who don't follow the NFL as closely as we do, as closely as those of you out there who are watching or listening do, and they're going to be very surprised come Friday night if this trade happens during the draft. It's good for ratings, good for business, good for everyone if it happens during the draft. But those of us who pay attention should go ahead and have our stories ready to publish when it happens on Friday night or late Friday afternoon. At some point on Friday, I expect the trade to happen. If it doesn't, that's the surprise. If it doesn't, that's when this thing potentially gets more interesting, because at some point you have to entertain the possibility of Aaron Rodgers changing his intention. And he could word salad his way around it if he wants to. He could say it's just not meant to be. It's been 7 weeks now. These two teams can't figure it out. Maybe that's a message to me that I'm not meant to go there. And maybe he could play hardball with the Packers and say I'm going to stay in Green Bay, or maybe he gets traded somewhere else. There could be some spots that are still in need of a quarterback once the draft comes and goes. So his intention could change. I think it's hard for it to happen. Right now it would be hard for him to do it, Chris, but if they don't trade him during the draft, it becomes a little bit easier for him to change his intention. Because I think if it doesn't happen by Friday night, the learned Jets fans who understand what's happening and where it's all pointing, if it doesn't happen, the air comes out of the balloon a little bit, and maybe they're less upset and less stunned if Aaron Rodgers would change his intention in the aftermath of the draft. I don't think he will. I still don't think he will. Yeah. But I think if he's not traded by Friday night, that's when you kind of reshuffle the cards and maybe see where we are.
Man, they reshuffle the cards. I don't know where the hell you'd be, and they better watch out because Jet fans are going to be going down the Jersey Turnpike and with pitchforks and torches looking for Aaron Rodgers and on a march to go get him. And people will go crazy up here. The Jets fans want it to happen. It's so far down the road, and again, there's nothing else for them to believe in right now as far as what can work at the quarterback situation. So I know. I mean, where would they go if they were to do that? I know this is total spitballing. They're going to go there. Maybe that's the best thing for Lamar Jackson is the Jets to mess up this whole thing with Aaron Rodgers and make them so desperate that it creates a Cleveland Brown situation like it did with Deshaun Watson. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there, but we both expect it to happen, and I think it's going to happen. Yeah, I know.
But that's a great point.
Yeah.
That is an unintended but very beneficial for Lamar Jackson consequence. If this would fall apart, then all of a sudden Woody Johnson has an urgency to fix it, to get those folks that are ready to storm the castle to go home, and that's one way to do it, and that's one of the ingredients in the desperation that can cause someone to do it. One more point I want to make, though, circling back to this 49ers talk that won't go away. Point that I made yesterday. The only people we ever hear it from are members of the New York media.
Exactly. That's it.
Because what are they trying to do?
Yeah.
Somebody's trying to put pressure on the Jets to do it. So if anyone from the Packers it's either people from the Packers are deliberately targeting New York media figures to get this out there, or the New York media figures know what sells. And what sells is getting the Jets fans to panic about the possibility they're not going to get Aaron Rodgers.
That could be both there.
Until something like that would come from the Packers, the 49ers media, Green Bay media, San Francisco media, national media, it's like, don't waste your time reading that crap. Aaron Rodgers line. Don't waste your time even considering the possibility of Aaron Rodgers going to the 49ers or anywhere else. It's the Jets. And if it's not the Jets, see, after that, what do you root for? I root for a great story. A great story would be this trade doesn't happen Friday night. I fully expect the trade to happen Friday night.
Yeah, I do too. I hope so. I wouldn't even be shocked, if it did happen Thursday night. And if it did happen Thursday night, I'd go, ooh, watch out. Green Bay might be trying to make some moves, tonight from 15 to make a move either way. But, yeah, I think you said it. The deadline's Friday night. I could see maybe it happened Thursday night. I hope it does happen and we can just get on with this situation and be talking about it next week and be done with it for a while.
And the one last thing to keep in mind, Packers don't have an owner. Jets do. Somebody could blink this week, and it could be Woody that just says to Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh or both, I'm sick of this. What are we talking about here? What's the difference here? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
Let's have this done before we go to the draft so our fans can focus on the draft, so they can focus on booing whoever we take in the draft instead of booing us for not getting Aaron Rodgers. So there's still a possibility that someone just throws their hands in the air and gets it done this week now that they're re-engaged. But either way, fully expect by the time we do this show next Monday, we'll be talking about Aaron Rodgers officially as a member of the New York Jets. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.